you do.
Admit Judith right now.
Okay. While you're doing that, I'll say good morning. It's Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. My name is Randolph Mickeljohn. I'm chairing this meeting of the trustees of Walnut Hills Cemetery. And the meeting is now called to order. You still letting people in, Jessica?
I only had one. It's Judith.
Oh, okay.
I can make her. I was thinking if you want to make sure she can hear us, if she's all that. Judith, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Great. Just a note as we get going, I had been in touch with you trustees about the meeting because we were short a couple of trustees. Tom Johnson is on grand jury duty. And Peggy gave me a call yesterday. She has had to step back, and especially in the time for this meeting, to care for her husband's health, which has taken a turn, and she is prioritizing that. I'm sure she may share a little more when she's with us tonight, but that's why she's not here, and that's why it mattered. But I knew whether we would have the other four of us. Let's see, everybody got the packet of meeting materials. There's some deeds going around. And on the agenda, first item of business is the draft the meeting minutes from our last meeting, which was way back in May 2025. And as usual, the version of the minutes that you should have got in the packet is the one where Jessica read a draft and I, with the change tracker turned on, made a few proposed edits. So that is our document. And are there any questions or further proposed edits? I had one, Jessica, just that I found another little mistake at the end of the first paragraph. Before the word commissioner, there's a but should be just BUT, not the extra letter.
Okay.
Minor things. Hearing no other revisions, can I have a motion for approval of the draft minutes with the chair's edits of the meeting May 7th? Moved by Lisa.
Just one quick
Oh,
question.
yeah.
It doesn't, I presume you're going to add this, but it doesn't list who was here and who wasn't in the documents used and so forth. These are the minutes,
Oh.
right?
Oh, I can add who was here. Just all the documents are online and I post the minutes in the agenda packet.
Well, they don't have to be available, but they just have to be, whatever documents were discussed.
Yeah,
be listed.
but now they're attached to, like, these
Got it,
minutes
got it,
are
okay.
attached to the town calendar, which
Okay.
is attached to the agenda packet. So every single thing is listed with the meeting online.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I just was noting that members present and absent were not.
The member.
So we
Yeah.
can't-
Is that a template thing, Jessica?
At the top,
in the
usually when you say all in favor or list it, I added it because I typed the minutes separately than when I posted online. Because you're supposed to type these in like online while
Right.
I'm doing it, and I don't do that. I do this and then I go online and then there's a motion, so it'll show everyone that we're up there. But I can just do it already too.
Stupid administrative, well, important administrative thing. So I would just suggest an amendment that says we approve them subject to Jessica inserting the names of the
list of
members.
trustees.
you
Yeah,
know, present and absent.
I agree. Could you do that? That would.
Yeah, usually it does it when you take a roll call for other stuff, but I can, because it goes right into the minutes. It's like a software where I hit everyone's
Yeah,
names,
yeah, yeah.
whatever, and then it
Okay.
shows who's here for roll
Okay.
call. Yeah.
Okay. All right. A motion by Lisa, proposed amendment by Jocelyn. Can we have a second? I'm going to second the motion.
Thank you.
On the motion as amended, all in favor, it's a roll call vote. Jocelyn Murphy,
Yes,
Lisa Harbor,
yes.
Jerry Hayes.
Yep.
And the chair votes aye. It's unanimous. All right. Moving on to cemetery funds. And we are happy to have representatives of Morgan Stanley Wealth Management here with us, and they have brought a another periodic report and help me out.
What?
Okay.
Lincoln.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I thought we met. before.
Okay, yeah.
Lincoln Hymantown
For
Treasurer,
those, I've met almost all of you, I
Right.
think, but I'm the director of finance for the.
Director of Finance. Thank you. So, Kirk and Griffin, I had asked Jessica to send along some, notes from me, which were, kind of the layperson's version of trying to return to this topic of the long-term management of the investment of these cemetery funds. And this is something I started in 2022 when I was started noticing that we were having the same check-in meeting, and partly to get it down in writing for myself, but also just to check with you whether I understood it. I had just written down in 2022, and I did it again in 2024. My understanding of what the setup was, what we invest in and what the balance between equities and fixed income was. So I did it again, sent it along to Jessica. Could you both, comment on whether there is any change to that direction or the strategy as you had proposed and direction we had given in the past, and anything else that is new we should know?
Yes, certainly. And then, I think just, to kind of recap, so, we've been, assisting the town and the cemetery and the management of the long-term, funds for, a number of years over, different, town treasurers and finance managers. And it's been, really kind of a consistent, process over time. Strategic asset allocation, 65% stocks, 35% bonds. The stocks are individual equities, which are made up of the 22 mass legal listed names. And these equities are typically a little bit more defensive in nature, lower volatility, dividend payers. And as I mentioned, they do screen a bit more defensively. So they do kind of protect principal, in down environments versus just the regular benchmark. We bench to the Ockley MSCI Ockley World. We could use the S&P, but we choose to use a global bench. On the fixed income side, it's individual treasuries, usually 6 or 12 months of maturity. And so we're not, it's very plain vanilla. It's, the priorities are around preservation of capital, liquidity, and then yield, in that order. And so we're not taking credit risk, there's no credit, there's no duration bets, right? So we're, that's really the stability and income generating piece of the portfolio, which is 35%. Another thing that I would mention is we incorporate the IPS for the town and some of the restrictions around things that we do not want to be investing to. So we do.
Sorry, what is IPS?
The investment policy statement.
Okay.
So that's something that's kind of applied, across the town in general, where, if there are restrictions around investing in, tobacco, firearms, nuclear energy, and things of that nature, then, we've incorporated that as well, and then would restrict, from the 22. So we actually have 18 names in the portfolio today. What else can I tell you? We use third-party IPS monitoring. So Morgan Stanley provides a platform called Clearwater Analytics. And so we have, the rules for the town loaded into that. And so there's, external monitoring of anything that we are doing as a team in terms of your portfolio as well. But there's been, largely the changes are minimal. The overall, asset allocation and strategy is consistent. Although since we last spoke, we did incorporate some of those IPS investment policy restrictions into the portfolio.
Okay. And are those Can you comment on those, is that across? other-
Yeah, correct. So, the select board most recently adopted, investment policy statement in 2019. And as, it does include prohibitions on investments in companies that, sell tobacco, nuclear weapons, and I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but,
Yeah.
looks like you do, this is one category.
Yeah.
But as he mentioned, we've recently put in place this system to ensure that we're following that letter.
Mhm. Other municipalities have something similar or?
Different municipalities have different investment policy statements.
Yeah.
Not every municipality has a statement that bans certain types of investments,
Mhm.
but many do. Sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. So for context, we, on the government entities side, similar to how we manage money for the town of Brookline, we manage, approximately 30 different, towns, cities, counties. And so some of those, will not have restrictions or have maybe, 2, 3, 4 restrictions. Part of this, what we've done and historically and what we continue to do is really work with the mass legalists. I mean, these are trust funds as well. So, there is legislation, there's policy in place where you could deviate with a prudent person rule and kind of go off of the legalist. But most towns and cities and counties don't choose to do that in Massachusetts just because it's a whole nother kind of oversight, like, rationale and why and policy and kind of review of that.
All right, thank you. I know if our trustee Peggy McGuire, who is absent today, I know she would have questions if she were here. She's a bit of an investment hound, but I'm gonna just open it up from other trustees, other questions or comments about what we've heard so far.
Thank you.
What we did I went back and looked at the minutes from 2024. And the motion that was made at the time by Peggy was to offer no change in direction to Morgan Stanley for these funds, and that noting that the asset allocation was 65-35 as it had historically been. That I bring that up just so we don't scratch our heads too hard if we are satisfied with the management of these investments. And unless there's more discussion, I would ask for either a version of that motion or something similar.
I think we, as a board, asked the finance director to be the day-to-day monitor and director of this program. Is that correct? We call that. So I'd like to ask if you're 100% happy in all respects.
Well, that's a hard bar to be 100% happy in all respects. But no, I mean, we have a long-standing relationship with Morgan Stanley. I think, I am happy with the direction we have, the management that we have. We in particular, we do have a series of assets, both trust funds, but also bond funds with Morgan Stanley. And, I've been happy with that management model. But the
return that's generated is probably as good as could be expected under any circumstance.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, I think, the key metric here, as you said, is to, and in the investment policy statement that the town has, the categories and the goals in order are preservation of principal and then liquidity and then yield. And so, we're following that for this trust fund, and for investments in other trust funds as well. If there's a different, mix, if there's something else that the cemetery fund, the cemetery trustees would like to see, we can have that conversation. But I think, if your primary goals are in concert with the investment policy statement of the town is of those three in that order, then I think we're following it well.
Is there anything that you would recommend be changed in terms of what the trustees had asked for?
No.
No.
Just
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Great. Thanks.
But yeah,
Thank you, Jerry. That's helpful.
But happy to, discuss further as desired.
Okay. Anything else? I'm gonna be a little formal about this. Recognizing that this is one of our duties under state law is to supervise the investment of these funds. So what I've been asking the trustee to do is to take a vote when we have a presentation about it and in a public meeting. I'm going to offer this motion to offer no change in direction to the Morgan Stanley for their first investment strategy for these funds. Second to that, moved by Jerry, second by Lisa. All in favor, please say aye. Jocelyn Murphy.
You didn't offer an opportunity for conversation.
Yeah,
about
okay.
So,
Sorry about that.
I think it's important for present circumstances to clarify, we're an advisory body, so we make recommendations, and thankfully Lincoln and his, Lincoln, along with these gentlemen, sort of administer
Right.
the funds. So with that said, yes, I vote in favor.
Yeah, and thank you. And this is why I went back and looked at state law, because the word that's that word supervise.
Yes.
We could talk about what that means, but not in the middle of a vote. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, on the motion, Lisa,
Aye.
Jerry,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Thanks, everybody. And before we leave this topic, Amelia, could you just mention, because you and I talked about this earlier before the meeting, and this is for the other side of the fund, which is the because I don't think we see this differentiated in the Morgan Stanley report, the split between the non-expendable and the expendable fund.
Right.
Can you just give us the balances? We'll get
Yeah,
those in minutes.
absolutely. So we have two accounts, TW23, which is the Cemetery Perpetual Care account. And we have a balance of $917,686.32 in that. And we have the SW01 account, which, again, it can be used with the vote of the town meeting. I should have mentioned that Cemetery Perpetual Care is used with the vote of the trustees. And in SW01 account, we have a balance currently of $757,596.40.
And there's also a TW24.
TW24 account.
That is
So
the that's
that is the
non-expendable.
non-expendable account, and I'm just realizing that I do not have the balance on that right now, which I need to go back and find out, so I can follow up,
Okay.
on that.
Okay. Yeah, and that's for a later meeting, but it just
Mhm.
came to my attention because I was going back and looking at some earlier meetings where we had discussed this. And it was a split in the funds that wasn't reflected in it is, and is that right? In the Morgan Stanley, it's basically managing it all together, right? You don't recognize these divisions between each other.
That's correct. So this is like a pooled account,
It's a-
and it's not, we don't do the sub account reporting on our end.
Yep.
For those, it's
Okay.
for those distinct budgets.
So when Neely's talking about that's how it's represented in our accounting system.
Yes.
So we have this non-expendable amount, right, which is sort of for the preservation
To generate income.
principle, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And then the expendable amount, but as you mentioned, it's all pooled together in terms of investment.
Yes. Okay.
So when we're having that distinction, it's really in how it's spent, not in how it's invested.
Right.
Does that help? Does that help?
Right.
Yeah.
And how it's been, that's another meeting. That's not on the agenda today. All right. Thank you for.
Thank you.
Joining us.
Thank you
Thanks
so
very
much
much.
for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Okay.
Well, we're talking, I'll wait.
Yeah, no, I'm just getting my water. Go ahead, Jerry.
The question on the money that went from whatever account into the general fund this year, was it the same as the past years, which was, I think, town took $100,000.
I've seen that in past years. Do you happen to know? Maybe
We should know that.
It was 100,000.
Is that pretty much a
It's always the same.
annual thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But it was an increase. I think I heard you say it is 100, right?
Correct,
Thank you.
correct.
There was a vote taken years ago that
Then we
notably I
donate that.
that would contribute that.
Is that notable? No, yeah. Yeah.
The new budget does not seem to show that, I guess it's been fancied up, but certain data is not there that
It's
used
just-
to be in the old budget.
It runs year to year, you know,
Right.
somewhat like real estate.
Okay. All right, on we go to regulations. And this is item 3 on the agenda. There are 2 regulations items on the agenda, and this is the 955 one, which is discussion and possible votes on proposed cemetery regulations in 4 areas. It should sound really familiar because we have been talking about them. Visitors, lots, lot purchase eligibility, and veterans lot eligibility. And, you know, just as a reminder, we've been talking about these, and we've been talking about the monument design guidelines separately. And then there's the other more distant topic, you know, future changes to regulations for, you know, allowing green burial, things like that. For the 4 that are in these 2 handouts in the packet, the clean and the tracked version, we had reviewed them at a meeting in December 2024, and then in February 2025. The timing matters here because that was between February and May was when Millie came on board as Parks Director. You know, she came to that first meeting in May and, you know, caught up with this as an ongoing topic. In June, I sent her these drafts, and the reason that the drafts have a June 25th date on them is that after getting through that May meeting, I heard from I had collected some comments from the trustees at the February meeting. There may have been one more in May, but all the comments to date made this new June 25th draft of the 4 text. That's what went to the Parks Department. And remember, this is partly because obviously they're managing the cemetery, but it's also because a couple of the regulations are areas where we can only recommend, not vote to enact. The question that I put to Millie was, do you have any further changes? And I gave you until August to look at that. Right. Thank you for looking at it and considering it. But what you said was no further changes. So these are now back to the trustees. And we can consider voting on them today. When we vote, of the 4 topics, the regulations for lots and visitors are, according to the opinion we got from town council the last time, they are subject to the approval of the DPW commissioner. So we can recommend that the DPW commissioner approve them. The other 2 for lot purchase eligibility and eligibility for burial on the veterans lot, those are within the trustees' authority under state law, and we can enact those ourselves. Again,
Under a special act.
yeah.
Close.
Yes, okay, thank you. And more to the point, town council told us that was the way to do it. So there we are. I guess I would say, are there any further questions either about the text of these or about the process that we might go through today?
May I?
Yes.
I think they're excellent, having worked on them with you.
Yes, thank you.
But
Thanks for the help.
more to the point, these are really housekeeping. I don't think there are any substantive changes. What we did largely, was for the benefit of the others who weren't participating, was Randolph, in his judicious way, went through and saw where there were, gaps because either it was outdated or the regulation is something we don't follow for obvious reasons, things of that nature. So these are really just, in my description, they're just housekeeping to bring us sort of up to date with modern application.
Right.
Is that a fair?
Yeah, and that's how people talk about it in town meeting when there's cleanup of, other regulations, by
Yep.
right. So, yeah, I don't disagree. And in fact, Jessica, you and I were talking about this before the meeting. There's more housekeeping out there. The deeds that we all just signed, they need a little housekeeping too, but that's separate.
Yeah, and that's more of a legal thing, right?
Yeah, sure.
But
No, but some of it is like spelling even, but that's okay for later.
it's such nice script.
Yes, let's talk to the people who have to work with the nice script.
I will say though, having finally done my homework assignment, doing some research on the cemetery,
Hmm.
beautiful cemetery in Belmont. I do think that there are trustees may want to consider some future changes about, whether we allow future purchases of graves versus based on time of need.
Hmm.
I noticed, for example, we sign these deeds after people have been interred. That's sort of a questionable practice because, if they don't meet the eligibility, then what do we do, sort of thing. And then what was the last one? For example, at this Belmont Cemetery, which is a beautiful open space.
This is
which you would appreciate.
the Highland Meadow one, yeah.
They don't allow any upright headstones.
Yeah, right.
And they don't allow any planting.
Yeah, right,
Mm-hmm.
right, so
Which
it's,
would solve a huge problem for our staff, I think.
Mhm.
And it would also save the town a considerable amount of money because there would be no need to expand the cemetery.
yeah, the mowing goes really fast.
The mowing goes really fast. Yeah.
It will.
Yeah.
So anyway.
No,
something for future.
it's a really good example of, stepping into that category of future changes,
Right,
right?
exactly.
And because that's beyond like this housekeeping level with this current stuff.
No, I only raise it because this could be my last meeting, but that's why I raise it.
Okay. Let's hope not, but thank you for the comment.
Wildwood is nice for its type, but I'm not sure it's good for the town of Brookline. I mean, this will take a lot of discussion come time to discuss
Yeah,
the issue.
right.
I mean, I've seen Wildwood, it's a.
I think it
meadow.
would, I think it would require, well, it's not Wildwood, it's called something else.
You talking about Belmont?
Yeah, Belmont, yeah.
Yeah, Wildwood is Winchester. Belmont is called Highland Meadow.
Well, the Belmont Cemetery that's up on the hill.
Mhm.
uh,
Near McLean Hospital, yeah, yeah.
Whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're an advisory body, pretty well known. And I believe, when we've made significant changes in the past, I'm the longest serving trustee, having served for 27 years. I had to look at Al Palladino's headstone to figure that out. I followed him. But in any event, when we have made significant decisions, for example, should we allow people when they're visiting graves or visitors to have dogs?
Right,
We've had a public meeting, and
Yeah.
I think this would probably be the subject of a public meeting.
Mhm. Sure.
I'm a fiscal conservative, as everybody knows, so I come from it as, hey, we've got this space that has been designed to, the open meadow spaces that was designed to be an open meadow by the original, trustees and by the folks who,
Mhm.
the landscape architects, and so should we maintain that as open space and only
Yeah.
permit flat markers? I think it's a larger conversation than just us, because we're simply advisory. We should be advising in what, as Jerry properly points out, the town wants.
Yeah.
And it would also be less expensive.
Mhm.
So there you go. That's my thought on the matter.
Yeah, we're gonna come, you're reaching into planning for the future, right? Which is, we're gonna get back to that on this agenda.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but it's a good contrast to if I can, without putting my thumb on the scale too much, the utter simplicity of these housekeeping, proposed modifications. And Jerry,
I just want to make sure I understand, there's really absolutely no real change in any of this. It is just the dressing it up and bringing it up into language we can all understand.
yeah,
Well,
and that aligns with current
practice.
reality.
Right.
Like we took out, for example, like the numbering of lots shall be legibly numbered in a manner to be approved by, no, not the trustees anymore. It's been the director of Parks and Open Space for the past 40 years. So let's just have the regulations say that.
Mhm.
That's an example of the scope of these things. And there were quite a few of those because the text of these, and I went back and looked in 1963 and 1932, and the text referring to the authority of the trustees to make decisions hadn't really been modified since
Right.
then, and especially not during the special act of 1981.
And do we also check out, for example, there was a provision, I can't remember now. Headstones could only be made of this black granite.
No different, that's monument design.
That's like.
Oh, sorry. yeah.
Well, we
What's that? When we
actually,
get to that.
sorry, what we did, Jocelyn, was we took out the one reference. And this is in lots number 4. There was a sentence that said no monument or other structure of white marble shall be erected on any plot. We took that out because although it wasn't untrue, but there was much more information, including that statement, in the monument design guidelines. So and I proposed that so that these could be
Modified.
simpler and not so that the lot regulations didn't start and fail to finish the topic of a monument design.
There's no reference to upright versus flat markers, if that's what you're interested in.
Yeah. Oh, and there was also this statement about, nothing other than slate or dark Quincy granite.
Yeah.
Yeah, we took
Yeah.
that took that out too. And again, that for the same reasons it was in the monument design guideline. Okay, more discussion? All
I'm
right.
good with
If
that.
not, then I would invite a motion in something like that the trustees recommend the DPW commissioner's approval of the June 25th, 2025 draft regulations for visitors and for burial lots. Want to make that motion? Moved by Jerry,
I'll second this.
seconded by Jocelyn. In favor, please say aye. Jocelyn Murphy,
Aye.
Lisa Farber,
Aye.
Jerry Hayes, and chair votes aye. All right, the second vote is a little different. And it's just the back of the text, but under the headings for eligibility for lot purchase and for eligibility for in the veterans lot. Remember, these just hadn't been published as regulations before. There isn't anything new here, except that it would be new that they will be available on the website as regulations. And there's some related cleanup necessary in the lot purchase form. Not much. This is mostly where the content came from.
Sorry, I'm not finding it readily.
Sorry, it's the same document. It's just the back pages. Go to the
One. What is the topic? What is the title of the paper?
cemetery rules and regulations.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Is it okay?
It's just this part, that part of this part.
Got it.
Right.
Thank you.
And we didn't even, you and I didn't really do any work on these because we were just extracting the operative language from
Yes.
the
Existing.
form and from this old memo from DPW. So could we have a motion? Let's see, how are we going to say this? That the trustees adopt the text of the June 25, 2025 proposed regulations for eligibility for lot purchase and for eligibility in the veterans lot.
So
Moved by Lisa, seconded by Jerry. In favor, please say aye. Jocelyn Murphy,
aye.
Lisa Farber,
Aye.
Jerry Hayes,
Aye.
and chair votes aye.
Can I throw
Everybody.
in a postscript here too?
Yes.
So over the years that I've served on this board, there has been some consternation about whether or not our requirement of residency for 5 years is appropriate.
Appropriate, legal,
Yeah,
necessary,
yeah.
fair?
Fair, all of the
Okay.
above.
Okay,
It's a long requirement. I don't think any of the other cemeteries, at least the ones that I was able to look at, have a similar requirement. If you're a resident, you're a resident and you can purchase a lot.
Hmm.
My
Like you
recollection
could
is
go to
that,
school if you're a resident.
Yeah.
No waiting period.
so my recollection is that the trustees years ago adopted that in an effort to, maintain space in the cemetery for residents who had invested something in the community, not
Mhm.
necessarily money, but by their presence. So that's something that might need to be looked at. And similarly, I couldn't find any, and believe me, I'm fully support employees, but this topic has been discussed
Yeah, yeah.
before. I couldn't find any other cemetery among the ones that I looked at that provide interments or permit former
Right.
employees to purchase lots.
Yeah. I mean,
There are
it's,
some,
yeah,
we'd have to chase around and find them, but.
yeah, it feels
Future
like,
topic.
it feels like benchmarking
topic.
to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So I just wanted to
Okay.
make note of that.
All right. Okay, continuing on regulations, but then, this is really changing gears, and we've been touching on it, monument design. So, nothing new has happened on monument design, in the last couple of meetings, and, in the trustee group, but I had some news to share about things that happened on the outside. The documents in the packet are a clean and then a tracked, a change tracker version with some proposed changes, that Jocelyn and I had developed back in March. And it was kind of I want to say it was kind of a trial session to see like how much work is it going to be to kind of clean these up and shape them up into something that is clear enough. And there were really two things going on. There was this question of could we have regulations about the cemetery that are just straightforward, that will mean the same thing to everybody. At the same time, and I mentioned this as background, and every time we come to this meeting topic, it's also the case that we had a cemetery that over the past, in some cases, 20, 30, 50 years or more, that monuments have been installed that don't comply with the guidelines. So it has seemed to me that, once you discover that, and if you think about what the staff has to do in receiving requests from lot purchasers, at some point we've got to close the gap. Here's an example of one of those staff questions. You've got there's actually a lot of black polished granite monuments in the cemetery, and when the next person comes in and wants a black polished one, and we have communicated and staff has confirmed that they're going to enforce the regulations as they are, but saying if this is hobby, saying at the same time, it can be hard. Like somebody could say, well, look, there's a black polished one right over there. Why can't I have one? That's one of the easy. Sorry, never strike that. It's not that it's easy, but that's of a different nature from the prohibition on pink granite. I mean, there've been pink granite monuments put up in the cemetery since the Second World War. So it doesn't make sense to have these regulations that are that describe a cemetery that we've sort of departed from a while ago. And my high level take on this is that we should still do our best to try to propose the appearance of the cemetery that that we, and I mean the trustees and the town, would like to have. There ought to be a way to describe that in regulation. What happened over the summer was that, and I had mentioned this in May. I thought it was time to go and talk with staff about it. So I had that meeting in July, and that was mostly with Javi and Greg and Millie. You were there for the front half of it. And we actually just looked at a lot of pictures of things that are out there in the cemetery. And the things that are the most common that are not allowed in the guidelines, stones other than gray, polished black granite, laser cut portraits, coloring or metallic paint in the inscriptions, inscriptions more than 33% of the stone, and monuments that are wider at the top than at the base. For today, what I actually wanted to ask you about, and I'm going to have to go to Peggy and Tom offline to ask them too, is if working on these monument design guidelines means, and I'm presuming that we're going to do this in public meetings. This is a sort of open discussion. We'll hear from people who are interested in it. But if we would attempt to make judgments about what we want the cemetery to look like through the way that we would revise or not revise these regulations, what do each of us need to be able to do this confidently? Do we, do we need site visits? Do we need a lot of photographs of our cemetery, of other cemeteries? Do we need an expert recommendation about it? And I'm going to say, do we want to defer this until there's a kind of review process of the master plan? Do we want, say, because when the master plan was done the last time, there was a landscape architect, was cemetery specialist, looking at function and appearance and horticulture and maintenance and things like that. There are professionals out there who provide these services. And we could take this the guidelines which lead cumulatively to a certain type of cemetery appearance in the long run, like appearance of the landscape. We could take that and say, that's not sort of a good fit for the cycle of 4 trustee meetings a year. We need to look at it with expert advice. So that's my question. Me, I'm a design professional. I'm opinionated. Like, I would be happy to just plow through this if it were just me, but it isn't just me. It's our group, and I want to find a process that's a good fit for the group. Thoughts?
I'm trying to find the problem for
Mhm.
which there has to be a remedy. I mean, I think when you and I went through these, we essentially cleaned up the language. For example, we were troubled by language that said we prefer,
Yeah.
because we were concerned that it would give staff some, they wouldn't really have direction. So what
Yeah.
does a preference mean?
Sorry, let me just jump in. That's not what I'm asking about, because I think that part is
No, I know.
achievable.
But why can't, but I'm not aware of a problem. So in other words, if we adopt these today,
Mhm.
let's assume we talk about these and adopt them. Why does there need to be a future process?
Thank you. Okay, let me back up. We did not, in drafting these comments, we did not take on the gap between the regulations say you cannot have a pink granite monument. You cannot have
Black.
But there are pink monuments all over the place. You can't have
There
black
are.
monuments, but there are black monuments. You can't have an ace, this flared one that's wider at the top, but they are there. And,
So you're talking about moving forward.
I'm talking about moving, I'm talking about going beyond housekeeping.
Mhm.
I'm talking about
Okay.
some substantive changes and, let me put it this way. I'll just turn to you, Lisa. Like if I said to you that it was your job to make a decision about, that there should or should not be black monuments, there should or should not be pink monuments, that we should or should not allow more than 30% of characters engraved on a stone.
Right.
I'm exaggerating a little bit for emphasis here. Are you ready to just dig into that on your own as, with what you know and what you've seen, or do you want professional help? And those are the extremes.
I think I would want professional help.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I think that having advice from people with vast experience and cemeteries and the layout, the architecture, the stones, and having pictures of what has been done and what could be done would be helpful before anybody dug into the process. If that makes sense to you?
Sure.
So,
I mean, it's not that far off from the Belmont Cemetery. Like there's somebody made a policy decision there, and its appearance, it's also maintenance and cost of maintenance and things like that. That there would be only flush markers. I mean, if you really want to relax about appearance, you could just say, okay, no more upright markers, because upright markers is where everything goes south on us, and people just want what they want. Of course, that's an option available to us.
did you say earlier that that would have to be a town discussion though? If we were moving towards no more upright markers?
Well, for two reasons. One, I think it would be a big change. Two, it's not within the trustees' authority to decide that, to regulate that.
What, markers?
I don't think so.
We just look at the act.
You're looking at the act, yeah. I have a copy of it, some of these notebooks.
Yeah.
But but I don't think you disagree with the public discussion question that Lisa's asked.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree. I mean, I think
Right.
Jerry raised it too, and I don't think it's a decision that we should make alone.
Right.
The public should have an opportunity to weigh in.
Right. I mean, let me cherry pick here, and I want to hear from you, Terry, if you have comments too. But like the question of whether the monuments should continue to disallow pink granite, to me, that's low hanging fruit. Like, let's forget. Can we just like relax and say say pink granite is allowed? Because there are hundreds of them. Like,
And even, truthfully, even black. I mean, I think what the objection
Right.
to black is the uniformity of that section of the cemetery where everything is black granite.
Right.
Which detracts from the appearance of the cemetery. But
right. And I think black is a little harder. I think the question about inscriptions, that's challenging to me. Like why would it matter that some stone has a lot of carving on it?
yes, although we have pushed back on
I know.
photographs.
I know.
No, that,
Right.
as we should.
But I think
That's-
photographs, again, just my opinion, I think the photographs is an easy call.
Yep.
Right.
So
You know?
may
Yeah.
I agree with Lisa's thinking, very good reasoning about consulting an expert
Mhm.
or a professional. That's gonna add cost. I think that we can. I think it's you guys, I think it's a topic that the trustees are well equipped to. In a public hearing, sort of flush out with the public and decide what they're going to advise staff.
Yeah.
Assuming that that's the. It is.
Jerry, thoughts about this?
It. I guess I'd want to, talking about pink monuments, I want to go look at pink monuments.
Yeah, right.
Right, I would
think
want
of
to see
what-
pictures of
Yeah.
Yeah.
what the range of pink
Right.
stone is, because it could be
Yeah,
very different from
Right.
what we might think
right,
a pink
right. Yeah.
stone might want to.
I mean, the town in the past has been somewhat fairly rigid on what they allowed in terms of the cemetery, I guess with intent. I mean, I kind of like things like I see down in New Orleans and places are kind of fun, but a cemetery is not fun. It's beautiful.
Mm.
The, professional help, I'm on the fence on that. It depends on the issues, I guess, that
Yeah.
we plan to get to.
Mhm.
I think we need some more discussion and maybe a site visit too on the. In the meantime, I happen to be on the side of anybody that would say, well, we have regulations. Let's enforce them prospectively, even if we
Right.
have fared in the past.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, that's, let me just respond to that, because we have gotten, you know, that we got commitment from Alexandra when she was in her previous job, and also, you know, kind of informally from Hobby himself,
Mhm.
who, you know, it's helpful to be able to have a conversation with him and be able to say, yeah, no, I get it that, like, you know, portraits are not allowed and the black polish is not allowed, so we'll just make sure people know that. And that's really worth something. That could you know, start to reduce the gap. But there are probably other areas where you know, the like uh I know there are other pink granite monuments that are going to come through. I don't really know what he's going to do. Um, um, so what I'm hearing, that we could keep working on it a little more. Let's not rush into consulting services. And I will talk to Peggy and Tom also, but I'm going to say let's keep on this for the next couple of meetings. This is probably enough for today.
Just one last comment.
Yeah, sure.
So, my view of it is you're correct. We are advisory only in the capacity that we would advise staff on our view of it as representatives of the community and trustees. So it's really up to staff whether they think they need professional help, I think, to consider what our recommendations are, because it's ultimately their decision. My opinion on it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't need a consultant to tell me what I think makes sense in the cemetery that I've been a trustee of for 27 years. I don't need a consultant. I personally don't need a consultant.
Right.
Yeah.
But the staff might need a little bit of, focus.
Yeah. So
I agree on that.
I think it's a decision that staff should make. It's ultimately their decision.
This is an aside, but this constant discussion as to who decides what and so
Yeah.
forth and so on, who recommends, makes me think we need to, at some point in time, very soon, take a look at that legislation. That's very old.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be changed and updated, frankly. I'm willing to bet that things have changed since that legislation was enacted. I'm willing to bet that the committee that went through and rearranged the Public Works Department, which was necessary,
David Turner.
did not spend a lot of time on Walnut Hill Cemetery. I'm sure they probably had a very simplistic view of what went on in the cemetery. Dig a hole, put a body in, fill it.
No, Barry. It was actually pretty, if I may, it was very comprehensive because they were reorganizing the department. So the powers that be were reorganizing the Department of Public Works.
I
So,
understand that.
so what they did is they created a Department of Public Works with 4 divisions. And then because both the Park and Recreation Commission and the Cemetery Commission had separate statutory authority, they consolidated it into the special act and said, Park and Rec and Cemetery, you are now an advisory body with regard to these functions, and you will retain these functions. And that is the mandate that we live by, have lived by since
I think it's
1980.
outdated is what I'm saying, possibly. And I think,
It's a special act, so it would have to be changed by the
I
legislature.
think we need to look at it. Not that the trustees want to get involved in running the cemetery, cutting the grass, et cetera, and taking care of everything else, but these kinds of things, I don't see they should be left to staff. I mean, it is, why should the staff take that burden of figuring out what the heck to put on a tombstone? I think that type of thing ought to be the trustees. And there were other areas I think that the trustees ought to have clear authority to establish.
Okay, so but thank you, and you know what, like I said, I will talk to Peggy and Tom. I want to move on here in a minute, but I think I will keep this on our agenda for the next couple of meetings, and it may be that where we can get to, the point some of you have been making is that we may be able to agree on enough that we can get to a level of some recommendations to staff about it. And I think that would be a valuable contribution. We've certainly looked at it for a bit and been to the cemetery a lot, so it's probably something that's not out of reach.
Whether certain things could be removed, like the little windmill. I mean, I don't know if on any of these things, if there's any significance to them other than decoration.
Right.
Those little
The twirly thing
metallic-
that's on the, yeah.
and
And
the
that,
little
that's,
pinwheels
yeah.
that they put in the ground.
one of the residents up there seems to have a night light.
Right,
Changing color nightlight.
right.
Is that what it
And I
is?
Yeah,
can
yeah.
see from my
Right.
house, it changes, the spectrum of
Things
colors.
like that.
Not
Something could be yanked out.
not disagreeing at all, but remember the monument design regulations are for things in stone that will be there forever, and the pinwheels to me have never been in that category, and that's why I
Well, that's
pay
true.
attention to them.
However, isn't there something in the rules and regulations that
Thought there was.
could
Yes,
be interpreted
There was.
to exclude that type of?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Kate Fijian and, Dorothy Walnut, two wonderful women who used to be on the trustees, used to walk the perimeter of the cemetery and remove
Yeah.
people's items. And I remember saying, no, that has to be staff because you'll be accused of theft.
It really does need to be staffed.
But yes, there is a regulation that is not well enforced. And I think the problem with that is because, Hobby doesn't want to go around and probably take people's stuff that's been there forever. But to respond to that, I think we had a cover letter that went with the deeds that very clearly pointed out it was a notice issue that I remember being concerned about. So there should be notice. When someone gets a deed, they should have notice that you cannot plant and you cannot, put pottery and things.
Yeah, but still people go to the cemetery in real life and they see what is there and they do what other people do.
Yeah, but okay, so on the newer cemetery lots, that's where the stuff is because it's contemporary.
Right, people are.
And so if people are on notice, Hobby can remove it. And then it stops that cycle.
Yeah, okay. Let's pivot and move. I'm sorry to, push against the schedule here, Millie, but if you have some staff update for us.
I can provide some brief updates. Just like regular staff update, we had a seasonal, typically we get seasonals over the summer and we have one or two seasonals helping here and there with Hobby and the staff at the cemetery, for the cemetery work. Sorry. I just also want to give an update on our CIP for FY27. So you all might know that we're now starting this the CIP cycle. And Walnut Hill Cemetery is one of the CIP items for us. So as you might all recall that we had received $100,000 for CIP last year on FY26 for, specifically to focus on work around roadway and drainage. So we are going back again this year to continue, with that funding, and we'll be requesting $600,000 to really, again, like the goal is to try to upgrade the roadways that are in poor condition. So, we had done a roadway assessment, and I don't have the diagram with me right now, but essentially, we had assessed the roadways that in poor, fair, and good condition. So the poor and, moderate condition roadway is like what we want to try to get at, like as much as possible. And also in the process of doing so, taking care of some of the drainage issues we have associated with it. So that's on the books for us. And for Walnut Hill Cemetery specifically, we also had CPA funding, from, I think it might be FY 24, where we were doing, significant like tree work. We did hazardous removal and tree pruning for the northern section of the cemetery. We are so going to be doing additional pruning on the eastern and southern end of the cemetery. And in addition to that, we will also be doing replanting. So, that portion will be ongoing throughout fall and winter. Likely will be, in winter, and like planting, likely will be like next spring, we'll try to target for that. And on Old Burial Ground, we have a few updates. So, as you all might know, that we have been working with our consultant, Structures North, to do, to develop construction documentation for the series of tombs. Like we had already renovated like one section of the tombs, but for the other section, we're going through documentation, and we are anticipating that it will be completed this fall, which is again a great timing because we want to go back to CPA committee this year. And we've already gotten invitation to apply for full CPA funding for, the implementation of the tomb restoration.
Hmm.
So once we have the documentation, like we'll likely get the funding, to actually do the restoration work.
Great.
And in the
Yeah.
meantime, is there also funding that was further along on the foster fence project?
Yes, so
It's
the
also
foster
CP,
fence
yeah.
funding, that was part of FY 26, so we've
Okay.
already been granted that funding.
Okay.
So right now, what our team is trying to figure out is, what would be the process for that? Would we have to go through opening up the bids, or like how do we deal with that? So because we know that there's really it is a highly specialized preservation work. So we're working with our purchasing department to figure out the process. So hopefully we'll have more to report on that.
Is there a dollar value threshold for when it has to be competitively bid?
I don't have well, if we get it out to bid competitively, like we'll have to just go with someone, who fits all our eligibility requirements to do
Right.
the restoration, and whoever is the lowest bidder.
Okay.
So again, like we're trying to determine that process, because what we know is, based on like how specialized the preservation work is, so far we only know of one.
Yeah.
Vendor who can do that, but there might be other vendors out there. We're not sure. So that's what we're trying to look into. That's it on my end. The updates.
I just have a couple of, it's kind of chair update things that are kind of, similar level of business. But I meant to mention at the beginning, just to get this in the minutes, that the stack of deeds that we just signed, Jessica and Greg had advised me earlier that there was actually one buyer who their deeds for 3 lots. And we don't see it when we sign this deed, but just to get in the minutes, Jessica, can you confirm that it's 3 lots because there was a town buyback of another lot?
Yeah.
So that this does not exceed 2 lots. The 2-lot maximum.
Louise, his mother and sister both owned a lot, and there are people buried in both of them. And what she wants to do, they're not together, and she wants to buy just 1 lot. She's disinterring the bodies, and she is bought 3 lots together, so she can move each of those 2 bodies into 2, and then that way she has a resting place next to her family.
Right.
So she has to buy them, obviously, because the other people who bought them are passed away and they're interred in Walnut Hill Cemetery. She is a past resident of 20 years, and so she doesn't have a problem buying a lot, but in order for her to buy 3,
Right.
that's why I just wanted to bring it to your attention, because
But-
they have to be under her name, because
She's buying 3, but she will not own more than 2.
no, she'll own 3.
She'll own,
Because she has to own the 3, because technically her family owned 2.
Oh.
They're disinterring them from them, and they can't buy them because they're already passed away. So the 3 will be under her name. Because I can't have someone buy the lot who's already passed away. if that makes sense.
But was the original purchaser another member of the family?
Yes,
Thank you,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
the
Okay,
mother
so
owned one,
there
and
were
I believe
separate,
the
there were
sister,
separate eligible individuals.
they
It
each bought
has to
one.
converge on a single owner
Yeah.
now, but for purchasing purposes.
Yes,
They were separately eligible. Nobody bought more than, no.
no one bought more
No.
than one, actually.
Yeah.
One was owned by the mother,
Okay.
and one
All
I
right.
believe was owned by.
All right,
the
thank
sister.
you,
Yeah.
just for the record.
Yeah.
A couple other things, in July, the historic walking tour that had happened in May, I did another one again with, a group from the Arnold Arboretum, where, some of I spend a lot of my time nowadays. I'm doing another one on Saturday, the 20th. Just mentioning in case anyone wants to go. Again, there's some senior staff from the Arboretum and a few other people who are, in the historic landscape business. I did another one, in the end of August, because we had a, journalist, from Brookline.News who got interested in the 150th anniversary. This is Heather Beasley Doyle. You might have seen her byline. Has she met with you and Alexandra yet?
Not yet. but
Coming up.
maybe next week.
Right. So this all came about because of this select board's new routine where they have boards and commissions appear before them once a year. And she was browsing through all the documents for those things and found the anniversary and thought it was newsworthy. So I gave her a little tour, and she interviewed me, and is going to interview Alexandra and me as well. And then I'm going back before the select board on Tuesday, the 30th. That's what I set up with Tiffany. That's it's just another one of these annual meetings or annual presentation of the board, share what we're doing, and they say, how can we help?
Already? Has it been a year?
It's been more than a year. Yeah. I know, right? It's,
Time flies.
well, it's a new board, so you gotta keep up.
Can I
Yeah,
follow up on
yeah,
something
sure.
that Bill said? So I just wanted, it's important to me that we clarify in the record, you referenced both the CIP and the CPA.
Yes.
And the CIP is for, improvement projects, and that's something that we don't vote on as a staff
Yes.
budget matter.
Yeah.
And the CPA, I have a recollection of Alexandra coming here and asking for our support.
Support for an application letter.
Support
yeah.
for an application, but we don't
Yes,
have,
we will,
but that's, we don't. That's the
Yeah.
level of our participation. We
Yeah.
provided a letter of support.
yeah,
Just
exactly.
Wanted to clarify
Exactly, yeah.
that.
So we had, submitted for eligibility back in
Yes,
August,
yeah.
and we received now, invitation to apply.
Yeah.
So yes, I will be coming back to you all,
Yeah.
for the letter of support. Thank you for noting that, Jocelyn.
Well, I'll be honest, it was somewhat self-serving because I did want to say as my conclusory comment that the select board Tiffany notified me that I would not be reappointed to the trustees under this curious opinion that town council provided that says that you cannot be both on the advisory committee and on a board that has charge of the expenditure of funds. And it's that language that I have trouble with, because I don't believe that we have charge of the expenditure of taxpayer money. We have some limited authority over the fees that people pay for the right to be
Right.
interred in the cemetery. And there's a really big distinction between that. So
Different money.
I'm sort of challenging that decision, but that was the point. So I have no illusions that select board will appoint me, but I disagree with the opinion, that
But
underlies it.
while we're on the subject, that didn't tell me if you understood this communication the same way that I did, which is that the select board, the rest of the message from select board town council or together, I'm not sure, was that until select board appoints someone else, that you're invited to continue to serve.
Yes. So I'm happy to serve until I'm replaced
Okay,
with hopefully a qualified person. But to me, that's a little bit of a curiosity because town council's opinion is that there's this inherent conflict. If that were the case, obviously I could continue to serve. There's more to come on this story, but in any event, this could be my last meeting, and it's possible it's not my last meeting if they don't appoint somebody to replace me.
Yeah, thank
But
you.
I hope I stay on.
I hope you do too, and I want to talk to you more about it, but I think we need to adjourn the meeting,
Yep.
let people
Yes,
move
yeah.
on with their day, so I will take that motion if someone would like to make it.
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Johnson, seconded by Barry, Johnson Murphy. On the motion. To adjourn?
Yes.
Please Carver,
Yes, please.
Barry Hyde,
All right.
yeah, and Randolph says aye, so thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Jesse, are we winding up with empty graves as a result of this Berman move?
Herman?
Will they go back on?
Did you say you can't sell the graves that have been?
They do a buyback to the town and they go back in our inventory as available to
I think
purchase.
that's a yes. Yeah.
So they will be sold.
Yes. And technically at a higher rate than what they purchased it for. Yeah.
But in terms of the, I mean, I'm just wondering if we have any type of a hint of the precedent in terms of what's going on with more than the number of people we've talked about in graves so far. What are we left with the Bermans at the end of the day? Again, I'm sorry to be maybe slow.
Two graves.
Two graves.
Yep. And that's it.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, and they don't own
But
three
then,
graves or four graves. They own
No,
two graves.
the mother owned one, and I believe a sister owned another one in
Yeah.
separate areas. And this woman, who is the sister of the sister and the daughter of the mother, has to buy three because she wants to disinter those two people. And she wants to be buried next to her mother and her sister.
That hasn't happened yet, but
Moving.
they will be
Right.
moved.
They'll be moved
You would
into
think-
the
you would
new
think that
area
the
where
cost
she
of
could
the
buy
old
three together.
ones.
Yeah.
Not cheap.
And the two that are,
Hopefully,
yeah,
turkey.
At a higher.
the two were like, yeah,
Not in this case.
no, it's gonna be like 17. It's gonna be a lot. Yeah, 'cause you have to disinter the two bodies and do two grave openings and
Yeah,
disinter
yeah.
them.
but doesn't each lot accommodate two caskets, one on top of the other?
No.
No,
That's the case at Highland.
yeah, certain areas that's the
Got it,
case,
got
but
it.
not
Yeah.
there and not in the new, in
Yeah.
the new, yeah. in the
That's
area
what,
they bought,
yeah, the deed, because the deed says that.